1347, February 26, 1945. Private First Class Douglas Jacobson knelt in volcanic ash 32 meters from a Japanese bunker, the M9A1 bazooka resting on his right shoulder, 6.8 kilograms loaded. The fissure in the concrete aperture measured 15 centimeters across. The rocket diameter was 60 millimeters. The margin for error was 0. Jacobson had 16 bunkers to destroy before 1600 hours, 4 hours, 13 minutes. He had never fired a bazooka before this morning. The weapon required 2 men. Jacobson was alone. 19 years old, assigned as B.A.R. gunner 40 minutes ago, now designated anti-tank specialist because the previous bazooka man had taken a Nambu round through the throat at 0923. The contradiction was absolute. Scout tactics with siege weaponry, a flanking tool used for frontal assault, civilian carpentry skills against imperial fortifications. Hill 382 stretched 116 meters above sea level, 16 reinforced positions, 75 enemy soldiers. Jacobson carried 12 rockets. If you survived the mathematics, the doctrine would remember you. If the doctrine remembered you, men would live. Jacobson did not come from military heritage. Rochester, New York, November 25, 1925. His father framed houses 32 years without missing a paycheck. Jacobson worked summers as draftsman, translating blueprints into lumber sequences, calculating load distribution for joists and headers. Precision mattered. A 16th-inch error in measurement compounded across structure until walls bowed and doors failed to close. The carpentry taught him to see angles, to understand how force travelled through material, to recognize when something would hold and when it would collapse. He also worked as a lifeguard at Port Washington, 50 hours a week watching swimmers, learning to identify panic before it manifested in thrashing. People telegraphed disaster seconds before it arrived. A slight change in stroke rhythm, head position shifting, the ability to read those micro-signals kept people alive. Jacobson enlisted Marine Corps Reserve January 28, 1943, 17 years old, parental consent required. The recruiter asked what he wanted to do. Jacobson said, infantry, no specialization preference, just carry a rifle and do the job. Boot camp at Paris Island, 8 weeks. Jacobson qualified expert marksman with the M1 Garand, not exceptional. 140 men in his platoon qualified expert. The Marine Corps did not celebrate competence. Competence was baseline expectation. After infantry training, Jacobson was assigned 4th Marine Division, 23rd Regiment, 3rd Battalion, Company C. Designation, Browning Automatic Rifle Gunner. The B.A.R. weighed 8.8 kilograms loaded, fired 30 caliber ammunition from a 20-round magazine. Rate of fire, 300 to 650 rounds per minute, depending on gas setting. The weapon provided squad automatic fire support. Jacobson trained on the B.A.R. for 6 months before deployment. Maintenance, immediate action drills, suppressive fire patterns. The B.A.R. became extension of muscle memory. Jacobson could disassemble, clean, and reassemble the weapon in darkness in 4 minutes 30 seconds. He knew the sound of each mechanical component, the click of the gas regulator, the snap of the magazine release, the specific tone of a round chambering. Weapons became languages. Fluency meant survival. 4th Marine Division shipped to Pacific Theatre, November 1943. First combat was Marshall Islands, January 31st through February 23rd, 1944. Jacobson's platoon assaulted fortified positions on Namur Island. Japanese defenders occupied concrete bunkers with interlocking fields of fire. The standard assault doctrine was naval bombardment, airstrikes, then infantry advance under covering fire. The doctrine worked until it encountered actual bunkers with actual defenders who refused to die from offshore shelling. Jacobson learned the reality of reinforced concrete. A 14-inch naval shell created impressive explosions. The explosions created impressive craters. The craters did nothing to the bunker 3 meters away, because the bunker was underground with 2 feet of concrete overhead, and the explosion dissipated upward while the Japanese machine gunner remained uninjured inside, waiting for the barrage to end so he could resume killing Marines who assumed the barrage had killed him. The solution at Namur was flamethrowers and satchel charges. Marines crawled to within grenade range. Some Marines died during the crawl. Other Marines reached the bunker, threw satchel charges through firing ports, and ran. Sometimes the charges detonated. Sometimes the Japanese threw them back out. Sometimes a Marine with a flamethrower reached the aperture and fired directly inside. Flame did not care about concrete thickness. Flame filled interior space and consumed oxygen and turned the bunker into an oven. The Japanese inside died from fire or asphyxiation, or both. This process took hours per bunker. Namur had dozens of bunkers. Casualties accumulated. Jacobson's platoon started with 42 men, after Namur 31. Not replaceable losses, just permanently dead. The 4th Division then prepared for Saipan, June 15th through July 9th, 1944. More bunkers, more satchel charges, more flamethrowers. More dead Marines who got close, but not close enough. Jacobson survived Saipan without injury. His B.A.R. did not jam once during 74 days of operations. He fired approximately 4,000 rounds. He had 0 confirmed kills because the B.A.R. was a suppressive fire weapon. You did not aim at individuals. You aimed at areas where individuals might be and fired until they stopped being there. After Saipan, 4th Division trained for Iwo Jima. Iwo Jima was 8 square miles of volcanic rock in the Philippine Sea. The island had strategic value because it was 660 nautical miles from Tokyo. American bombers flying from Iwo Jima could reach mainland Japan with fighter escort. The Japanese understood this mathematics. They defended accordingly. Lieutenant General Tadamichi Kuribayashi commanded the Iwo Jima garrison. 21,000 men, 18 kilometers of underground tunnels connecting 1,500 defensive positions. Kuribayashi abandoned the doctrine of beach defense. He knew American naval bombardment would destroy anything above ground. Instead, he fortified the interior. Bunkers made from reinforced concrete, wall thickness 60 centimeters, overhead protection, multiple layers of logs, steel, concrete, and earth. Firing ports designed to minimize exposure while maximizing fields of fire. Each bunker positioned to cover adjacent bunkers, interlocking kill zones, no exposed flanks. The tunnels allowed defenders to move between positions without surface exposure. If a bunker took casualties, fresh troops replaced them through underground access. If one position fell, the Japanese abandoned it and collapsed the tunnel entrance. The defenses were not designed to prevent American landing. They were designed to maximize American casualties during the advance inland. Kuribayashi calculated that each Japanese soldier should kill 10 Americans before dying. The mathematics required patience and discipline. Beach defense was dramatic but wasteful. Fighting from prepared positions in depth was boring but effective. Kuribayashi prepared for boring effectiveness. 4th Marine Division landed on Iwo Jima, February 19, 1945, 08:59. 30,000 Marines in the first wave. The beach was black volcanic sand, not sand like normal sand, powder, loose particles that did not compress underfoot. Marines stepped onto the beach and sank to their ankles. Vehicle tracks filled in immediately. Traction was minimal. Men struggled to move upslope from the waterline. The sand absorbed sound. The usual noise of landing craft engines and shouted orders seemed muffled. The black sand also absorbed heat. By mid-morning, surface temperature exceeded 50 degrees Celsius. The heat radiated through boot leather. Several Marines suffered first-degree burns on the soles of their feet. The Japanese held fire during the initial landing. Kuribayashi's orders were explicit. Allow the Americans to land, allow them to advance inland, then open fire when they cannot retreat and cannot advance. At 09:05, Japanese artillery opened fire, pre-registered coordinates. Every gun knew exactly where to aim. The beach became impact area. Marines took cover in the sand, but the sand provided no protection. Artillery airbursts did not require direct hits. Shrapnel spread in cone patterns. Bodies accumulated. Corpsmen ran forward. Some corpsmen became casualties. Other corpsmen took their place. This continued for 3 hours. By noon on D-Day, 4th Division had advanced 600 meters inland. Casualties, 581. The advance stalled at the base of Hill 382. The hill was volcanic rock outcropping in the north-central sector. Jacobson's Company C was assigned to assault the southern approach. The approach was 500 meters of open ground with zero cover. The Japanese had machine gun positions on the hill's reverse slope. The positions were invisible from the base. Marines advanced. Machine guns opened fire. Marines went to ground. Mortar rounds impacted. Marines called for tank support. Tanks advanced, struck mines, burned. This was the pattern for the next 6 days. Advance, take casualties, withdraw, repeat. By February 25th, Company C had advanced 120 meters. Casualties, 40%. The company commander requested air support. Air support dropped napalm. The napalm burned vegetation, but did not destroy bunkers. The bunkers were underground with concrete overhead. Fire rolled across the surface and dissipated. The Japanese inside waited until the flames cleared, then resumed firing. On the morning of February 26th, Company C was ordered to resume the assault on Hill 382. The objective was the hilltop. The distance was 380 meters. Intelligence estimated 16 fortified positions between current lines and the objective. Standard doctrine said each bunker required 1 platoon and 4 hours to reduce. 16 bunkers meant 64 platoon hours. Company C had 3 platoons. The mathematics said 5 days minimum. The division commander said complete the assault by nightfall. 09:12, February 26th. Jacobson's platoon advanced in squad column toward the first bunker. The bunker was camouflaged with volcanic rock and ash, invisible until you were 30 meters away. The bunker's firing port covered the avenue of approach with 60-degree arc. Interlocking fire from adjacent bunker provided coverage of dead zones. The Japanese had designed this. Every angle calculated, every field of fire measured. The platoon's bazooka team consisted of Private Henderson as gunner and Private Martinez as loader. Henderson carried the M9A1. Martinez carried 6 rockets, combined weight 23 kilograms. The plan was simple: advance under covering fire, get within effective range, fire rocket through bunker aperture, bunker neutralized. The problem was effective range. The M9A1 had maximum range of 366 meters. Effective range, meaning probability of hitting human-sized target, was 110 meters. But hitting a bunker aperture was not the same as hitting a human-sized target. The aperture measured 15 centimeters wide, 25 centimeters tall. At 110 meters, accuracy was marginal. Henderson needed to close to 60 meters or less. The bunker's Nambu machine gun had effective range of 800 meters. The Nambu's gunner could kill Henderson long before Henderson could return effective fire. Henderson tried anyway. He advanced with covering fire from 2 B.A.Rs and 8 riflemen. He got to 70 meters. The Nambu opened fire. Henderson took 3 rounds, chest, abdomen, neck, dead before he hit the ground. Martinez grabbed the bazooka and tried to continue. The Nambu killed him at 65 meters. Both men down, bazooka lying in volcanic ash. 6 rockets scattered around Martinez's body. The platoon went to ground. The assault stalled. Platoon Sergeant Fisher looked at the bunker, looked at the dead men, looked at the 17 Marines remaining in his platoon, and made a decision. He told Jacobson to get the bazooka. Jacobson was B.A.R. gunner. He had never trained on the M9A1. Fisher did not care. The bazooka was lying 70 meters forward. Someone needed to retrieve it. Someone needed to use it. Jacobson was that someone. Jacobson crawled forward. The Nambu traversed toward him. Rounds impacted 2 meters to his left, then 1 meter, then 50 centimeters. The Nambu gunner was adjusting. Jacobson pressed himself into the ash and stopped moving. The Nambu continued firing at his last position. After 30 seconds, the firing shifted to other targets. Jacobson crawled again. He reached Henderson's body at 0946. He took the bazooka. He crawled to Martinez's body. He collected the 6 rockets. He did not crawl back. Crawling back meant exposing his back to the Nambu. Forward was closer to the bunker. Maybe close enough. The M9A1 rocket launcher weighed 6.8 kilograms loaded. Overall length, 155 centimeters. The weapon was break-open design. Unlatch the forward assembly, insert rocket from the rear, close the assembly, connect electrical firing lead, aim via shoulder mount and optical sight, squeeze trigger. The trigger completed electrical circuit which ignited the rocket motor. The rocket accelerated down the tube at 84 meters per second and continued toward the target. Time to target at 60 meters, 0.7 seconds. The M9A1 was designed for 2-man operation. Gunner aimed and fired. Loader handled ammunition and watched for backblast hazards. The backblast extended 20 meters to the rear in a 30-degree cone. Anyone inside the cone received second-degree burns minimum. The 2-man team allowed the gunner to focus on target while the loader ensured nobody was standing behind them. Jacobson did not have a loader. He had 6 rockets and 16 bunkers. He opened the M9A1's breech, loaded 1 M6A3 rocket, closed the breech, connected the firing lead. He did this lying prone in volcanic ash with a Nambu machine gun, firing at targets 30 meters to his right. He shouldered the weapon. The M9A1 had a simple optical sight, no magnification, just a post and aperture with range markings. Jacobson had fired the B.A.R for 18 months. He understood trajectory and Kentucky windage. The bazooka was different. The rocket was fin-stabilized, not spin-stabilized. Wind drift was greater. The rocket also dropped more than a bullet because it was slower. Jacobson estimated distance to the bunker aperture, 40 meters. He aimed for the center of the firing port. He did not account for wind. There was no wind. He exhaled slowly and squeezed the trigger. The M6A3 rocket contained 8 ounces of pentolite. Pentolite was a mixture of PETN and TNT. The shaped charge focused the explosive force into a narrow jet of superheated plasma traveling at 8,000 meters per second. The jet could penetrate 12 centimeters of armor plate. Concrete was softer than armor plate. The rocket entered the bunker aperture and detonated inside. The plasma jet destroyed the Nambu. The overpressure killed the 3-man crew. The bunker fell silent. Jacobson worked the breech, removed the spent firing lead, inserted a second rocket, closed the breech, connected a new lead. 20 seconds. There were 2 more bunkers visible from his position, 50 meters north, 60 meters northwest. Both bunkers had line of sight to his location. Both bunkers would now be tracking him because he had just fired an extremely loud and visible rocket. Jacobson did not retreat. Retreating meant crawling 70 meters under fire. He went forward. He low-crawled 30 meters to a depression in the volcanic rock. The depression was an erosion channel, maybe 50 centimeters deep. Enough. He rolled into the channel and immediately took fire from the second bunker. Type 92 machine gun, 7.7 millimeter. Slower rate of fire than the Nambu, deeper sound. The rounds impacted the rock above Jacobson's head and sprayed fragments. One fragment cut his left forearm. Superficial. He ignored it. He identified the muzzle flash from the second bunker, 55 meters. Elevated position 10 degrees above his line of sight. Jacobson adjusted his aim. Fired. The rocket hit low, impacted the rock face 2 meters below the bunker aperture. The explosion fragmented the rock but did not penetrate the bunker. Miss. Jacobson reloaded. 4 rockets remaining. The Type 92 was still firing. Jacobson aimed higher, compensated for the elevation, fired again. The rocket entered the aperture. Detonation. Silence. Jacobson had destroyed 2 bunkers in 8 minutes. Ammunition expended, 3 rockets. 3 rockets remaining, 14 bunkers unaccounted for. The mathematics did not work. Jacobson needed more ammunition. He looked back toward Martinez's body. 6 rockets originally collected, 3 fired, 3 remaining in his immediate possession. But Martinez had been carrying a pack. The pack might contain additional rockets. Jacobson crawled back. The 70-meter crawl took 11 minutes. Constant incoming fire from positions he could not see. Twice he had to stop and press himself into the ash while machine gun bursts walked across his position. He reached Martinez at 10:23. The pack was underneath the body. Jacobson rolled the corpse, opened the pack. 8 rockets inside. Martinez had been carrying 14 rockets total, not 6. The extra 8 were reserve. Jacobson took all 8. He now had 11 rockets. He also took Martinez's canteen, 2 swallows of water. The water was warm and tasted like iodine purification tablets. Jacobson returned to the erosion channel. The return crawl took 9 minutes. By 10:41, he was in position with 11 rockets and 14 bunkers remaining. Still insufficient, but better. The third bunker was not visible from the erosion channel. Jacobson needed to relocate. He moved north along the channel for 20 meters until the terrain rose and the channel ended. He was now 40 meters northwest of the second bunker's position. He scanned for targets. Nothing visible. The Japanese bunkers were camouflaged. They did not reveal themselves until they fired. Jacobson waited. At 10:53, a Japanese soldier appeared 60 meters upslope. The soldier was running between positions, carrying ammunition. Jacobson did not shoot. The rifle shot would reveal his position. Instead, he watched where the soldier went. The soldier disappeared into the ground. Tunnel entrance or bunker entrance. Jacobson marked the location mentally. He crawled toward it. 30 meters. At 11:09, he was 25 meters from the position. He could see the entrance now. Horizontal opening in the rock face, 1 meter wide, 1.5 meters tall. Camouflage netting over the entrance. No visible firing port. This was not a bunker. This was access point. But access points connected to bunkers. Jacobson aimed at the entrance and fired. The rocket penetrated the netting and detonated inside. The entrance collapsed. Secondary explosions followed. Ammunition storage. The ground shook. Smoke and dust erupted from 3 other locations within 50-meter radius, connected positions. The tunnel network was collapsing. Jacobson had destroyed one entrance and caused structural failure across multiple connected bunkers. 4 positions neutralized with 1 rocket, 7 bunkers destroyed, 9 remaining, 7 rockets available. The mathematics now favored survival. But the explosion revealed his position. Mortar fire began impacting around the collapsed entrance at 11:14. The Japanese assumed the explosion was American demolition team at close range. They were firing pre-registered mortar concentrations on likely assault positions. Jacobson was inside the impact area. He moved 40 meters east into a cluster of volcanic boulders. The boulders provided overhead protection from airbursts. He waited for the barrage to end. 90 seconds of continuous impacts. Then, silence. Jacobson moved again. He continued upslope toward the summit of Hill 382. At 11:37, he encountered the 4th bunker. The bunker was larger than the previous positions. Reinforced concrete blockhouse, 3 meters wide, 2 meters tall, multiple firing ports. Jacobson counted 4 separate apertures. That meant multiple crew members, multiple weapons. He circled north to find an angle that exposed only 1 firing port. At 11:42, he found it, 28 meters, eastern approach, 1 visible port. Jacobson fired. The rocket penetrated. Explosion inside. But the bunker did not go silent. Different port opened fire. The blockhouse had internal compartments. 1 compartment destroyed, 3 operational. Jacobson reloaded, moved to a new position, fired again. Second rocket into second port. Explosion. The 3rd port opened fire. Jacobson moved again, fired 3rd rocket. Explosion. 4th port opened fire. This was depleting his ammunition faster than anticipated. Jacobson moved, fired 4th rocket into 4th port. The blockhouse finally went silent. 4 rockets expended on 1 position, 3 rockets remaining, 8 bunkers still operational. Jacobson checked his watch. 12:08. He had been in continuous action for 2 hours, 56 minutes. No water since the 2 swallows from Martinez's canteen. His tongue was thick. His hands were shaking, not from fear, but from dehydration and fatigue. The bazooka weighed 6.8 kilograms unloaded. Each rocket weighed 1.6 kilograms. Carrying 3 rockets plus the launcher was 13.6 kilograms. The M1 Garand he had abandoned at 0912 weighed 4.3 kilograms. The B.A.R he had been carrying earlier weighed 8.8 kilograms. Jacobson had traded lighter weapon for heavier weapon and gained nothing except the ability to destroy bunkers. Fair trade. He continued upslope. At 12:29 he located bunker number 9, pillbox construction, 5-man crew. Jacobson watched the position for 3 minutes, studying the fields of fire, identifying blind spots. The pillbox had excellent coverage to the south and west, minimal coverage to the north. Jacobson circled north, approached from the bunker's dead zone. He got to within 15 meters before being detected. The crew tried to reorient the gun. Too slow. Jacobson fired. The rocket entered the aperture at a 30-degree oblique angle and detonated against the interior back wall. The explosion created overpressure that ruptured the eardrums and lungs of all 5 crew members. Jacobson reloaded. 2 rockets remaining. Bunkers 10 and 11 were adjacent positions separated by 20 meters, mutually supporting. Attacking one exposed you to fire from the other. Classical defensive design. Jacobson studied the positions from 70 meters south. Both bunkers had clear line of sight to his position. He could not approach either one without being killed by the other. Standard doctrine said suppress one position with rifle fire while demolition team flanks the second position. Jacobson did not have rifle support. He did not have a demolition team. He had 1 bazooka and 2 rockets. Solution: fire both rockets simultaneously. Impossible. The bazooka was single shot. Solution: fire at one bunker, then immediately fire at second bunker before the second bunker can reorient. Possible, but difficult. Reload time was 20 seconds. That gave the second bunker's crew 20 seconds to traverse their weapon and acquire him as target. 20 seconds was long enough to kill him twice. Jacobson considered the terrain. There was a large boulder 30 meters north of the 2 bunkers. The boulder blocked line of sight between the bunkers and the ground behind the boulder. If Jacobson could move behind the boulder, he could reload without exposure. But reaching the boulder required crossing 40 meters of open ground under fire from both bunkers. Jacobson decided crossing 40 meters under fire was better than remaining 70 meters away with no solution. He got up and ran. The Japanese opened fire at 12:41. Jacobson sprinted north across the volcanic ash. Rounds impacted around him. He did not zigzag. Zigzagging reduced forward speed without meaningfully reducing probability of being hit. He ran straight. 30 meters, machine gun fire from the left bunker. 20 meters, machine gun fire from the right bunker. Both bunkers firing now. 10 meters, rounds snapping past his head. 5 meters. He dove behind the boulder. Rounds impacted the boulder's south face. Jacobson lay on his back, breathing hard, waiting for his vision to clear. 30 seconds. He sat up, opened the bazooka breech, loaded the second-to-last rocket, closed the breech, connected the firing lead. He moved to the boulder's west side, exposing minimal profile, aimed at the left bunker, fired. Immediate reload. Breech open, spent lead disconnected, new rocket inserted, breech closed, new lead connected, move to boulder's east side, aim at right bunker, fire. 18 seconds between shots, both bunkers silent. 11 bunkers destroyed, 0 rockets remaining. Jacobson set the bazooka down. He drew his M1911 pistol. The pistol had 7 rounds in the magazine, 1 in the chamber, 8 rounds total. Not useful against bunkers, useful against individual soldiers. He moved upslope. At 12:56 he encountered Japanese infantry, 3 soldiers running downhill toward the bunkers he had just destroyed. The soldiers saw him simultaneously. They raised their Arisaka rifles. Jacobson fired 3 times. All 3 soldiers dropped. 5 rounds remaining in the pistol. He continued upslope. At 13:03 he reached the base of the summit outcropping. 5 bunkers remained operational, all positioned to defend the hilltop. The bunkers were invisible from his position, but he could hear them. Machine gun fire directed at targets to his south. Company C was advancing under covering fire, capitalizing on the gap Jacobson had created. The 5 bunkers were firing at the company. They had not yet detected Jacobson behind them. He moved east along the base of the outcropping until he found a position with line of sight to the first bunker's rear entrance, Bunker 12. No rear firing port, just an access door partially open. Jacobson could see movement inside. He fired his pistol through the door, 4 shots. The movement stopped. 1 round remaining. Bunker 13 was 20 meters east, no visible rear access. Jacobson circled north to find the firing port. At 13:16 he located it. Frontal approach only. The bunker's gun was oriented south, firing at Company C. Jacobson picked up a rock, threw it west of the bunker. The rock clattered on volcanic stone. The bunker's gun traversed toward the sound. Jacobson ran forward, reached the bunker wall, pressed himself against the concrete outside the firing port. He pulled a fragmentation grenade from his belt, pulled the pin, released the spoon, counted 2 seconds, threw the grenade through the port. Explosion inside. The bunker went silent. Bunkers 14 and 15 were adjacent to Bunker 13. Both bunkers detected the grenade explosion and reoriented their guns toward Jacobson's position. Jacobson ran east, dove into a crater 10 meters from the bunkers. Machine gun fire followed him. Rounds impacted the crater rim. He had no grenades remaining. He had 1 pistol round. 2 bunkers operational. He looked for alternatives. At 13:28, Company C's lead elements reached Bunker 12. Riflemen and a flamethrower team. The flamethrower operator moved to Bunker 14, fired through the aperture. Bunker 14 neutralized. A demolition team moved to Bunker 15, placed satchel charge, withdrew, detonated. Bunker 15 destroyed. 16 bunkers neutralized. Time elapsed, 4 hours, 16 minutes. Jacobson climbed out of the crater and walked toward Company C's position. Platoon Sergeant Fisher saw him and asked for status report. Jacobson reported all bunkers destroyed, no ammunition remaining, minor shrapnel wound left forearm. Fisher ordered him to report to the company command post for treatment and debrief. Jacobson walked downhill. He retrieved his M1 Garand from the position he had abandoned at 0912. The rifle was buried in volcanic ash. He cleaned the action, loaded a fresh clip, slung the weapon. At 14:05 he reached the company command post. The company commander, Captain Saunders, conducted immediate debriefing. Jacobson reported 16 bunkers destroyed, 11 using bazooka, 3 using grenades, 2 by infantry support. Casualties: 2 KIA from the original bazooka team. Ammunition expended: 11 bazooka rockets, 4 grenades, 8 pistol rounds. Saunders asked how Jacobson had learned to operate the M9A1. Jacobson said he had not. He figured it out. Saunders asked how Jacobson had calculated angles for the oblique shots into bunkers. Jacobson said, carpentry. Load-bearing walls required understanding of force vectors, same principle. Saunders wrote this down. The debriefing lasted 14 minutes. Saunders told Jacobson to get his arm treated and return to his platoon. Jacobson went to the battalion aid station. Corpsman cleaned the shrapnel wound, applied sulfur powder, bandaged it. Treatment time, 6 minutes. Jacobson returned to Company C. The company secured Hill 382 by 1700 hours. Total casualties for the day, 12 killed, 39 wounded. Without Jacobson's action, estimated casualties would have exceeded 50 killed based on standard bunker reduction timelines. 4th Marine Division historical officer conducted formal interview with Jacobson on February 27th. The interview was recorded for after-action analysis. Jacobson described his actions in detail, focusing on technical aspects of the M9A1 and the bunker construction. He noted that Japanese bunkers had standardized dimensions which made range estimation easier after the first engagement. He noted that shaped charge rockets were effective against reinforced concrete but required precision placement. Deviation of more than 20 centimeters from the aperture center resulted in miss. He noted that volcanic ash created poor footing but excellent concealment for low crawling. He noted that the weight of the M9A1 plus rockets was manageable for one operator over short distances but would be fatiguing over extended operations. The historical officer asked if Jacobson had been afraid. Jacobson said yes. The officer asked if the fear affected his performance. Jacobson said no. Fear was information. Information was useful. The interview lasted 38 minutes. On March 2nd, Regimental Commander Colonel Wartime recommended Jacobson for the Medal of Honor. The recommendation cited conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty. The recommendation detailed 16 bunkers destroyed, 75 enemy soldiers killed, 0 casualties to friendly forces during Jacobson's direct action. The recommendation noted that Jacobson had operated independently, without orders, adapted civilian skills to military application, and achieved results that standard doctrine said required 16 hours with 4 platoons. The recommendation was forwarded to Division, then to Corps, then to Fleet Marine Force Pacific, then to Navy Department. On September 19, 1945, President Harry Truman presented the Medal of Honor to Private First Class Douglas Jacobson at the White House. Jacobson was 20 years old. The citation was read aloud. The word heroism appeared 3 times. Jacobson did not consider himself heroic. He considered himself competent. Competence under pressure was not heroism. It was carpentry. Measure carefully, cut accurately, ensure the structure holds. Same principle. After Iwo Jima, 4th Marine Division was withdrawn for rest and refit. The division had sustained 9,576 casualties, 35%. Jacobson spent 6 weeks at a naval hospital in Hawaii being treated for dehydration, malnutrition, and minor wounds. He returned to duty in May 1945. The division was preparing for the invasion of Japan. Operation Downfall, scheduled for November 1st. Estimated casualties, 1 million Allied troops. The invasion never occurred. On August 6th, Hiroshima. August 9th, Nagasaki. August 15th, Japan surrendered. Jacobson remained in the Marine Corps until January 1946. He was discharged with rank of corporal. He returned to Rochester. He married in 1947, 2 children. He worked as structural engineer for 41 years. He designed commercial buildings and residential complexes. He never spoke publicly about Iwo Jima, except when required for Marine Corps historical documentation. Colleagues knew he was a veteran. They did not know about Hill 382. They did not know about the 16 bunkers. They did not know about the bazooka. Jacobson did not volunteer the information. The work had been completed. Discussing it served no purpose. In 1993, the Marine Corps Infantry School at Quantico requested Jacobson's participation in a training video about individual initiative in combat. Jacobson declined. In 1997, a military historian requested interview for a book about Medal of Honor recipients on Iwo Jima. Jacobson declined. In 2003, the 4th Marine Division Association invited Jacobson to speak at their annual reunion. Jacobson attended, but did not speak. He sat with other veterans and answered questions when asked directly. Someone asked how he had known the rockets would penetrate the bunkers. Jacobson said he had not known. He had calculated probability based on concrete thickness and explosive force and determined probability was above 50%. That was sufficient. Someone asked if he had been scared. Jacobson said yes, continuously. Someone asked what he was thinking while approaching the bunkers. Jacobson said he was thinking about angles, the proper angle of approach, the proper angle for rocket trajectory, the proper angle for minimizing exposure. Geometry, same as carpentry. Douglas Jacobson died August 20th, 2000. He was 74 years old. Cause of death, cardiac failure. He was buried at Florida National Cemetery, Bushnell, Florida. Military honors. The Medal of Honor was placed on his casket during the service. His children donated the medal to the National Museum of the Marine Corps, Triangle, Virginia. The medal is displayed in the World War II gallery alongside Jacobson's service record and photographs from Iwo Jima. Most visitors walk past without stopping. It looks like any other medal in a case of many medals. But the label next to it reads, 16 bunkers destroyed, 30 minutes, 1 Marine. Visitors who stop and read the label often ask museum staff if that is accurate. Staff confirm it is accurate. Visitors then ask how it was possible. Staff explain that Jacobson was a carpenter who understood angles and force distribution. Visitors nod, but do not understand. Carpentry and combat seem unrelated. They are not unrelated. Both require precision. Both require understanding how force travels through material. Both require accepting that error results in failure, and failure results in death. Jacobson understood this. The understanding kept him alive. The understanding killed 75 enemy soldiers. The understanding saved Company C. The understanding became doctrine. After Iwo Jima, the Marine Corps revised its bunker assault doctrine. The revision included provisions for individual initiative, unconventional weapon employment, and utilization of non-military skills in tactical problem solving. The revision was not written because of Jacobson specifically. The revision was written because multiple Marines across multiple battles had demonstrated that doctrine was starting point, not conclusion. Soldiers adapted. Adaptation produced results. Results mattered more than compliance. Jacobson's action at Hill 382 became case study in the revised training manual. The case study did not mention heroism. It mentioned angles of approach, effective ranges, ammunition conservation, and time management. The technical details mattered because technical details were replicable. Future Marines could learn the technique. They could not learn heroism.